My wife publicly ridiculed me in front of her friends, and it was the final straw. I responded without mercy. I found this subreddit often on TikTok and Instagram, so I decided to share my anger and frustration. I need a release to vent because I'm beyond furious. I wonder, what exactly do people want? I put my all into being the best husband for my wife, Nora, but all I seem to get in return is disrespect, a lot of it from her and her friends. A quick history. Nora and I met during a college party thrown by one of her friends. We hit it off instantly that night and exchanged numbers. After our first date, we're now happily married for nearly a year, with me at 30 and Nora at 29. As a software engineer at a renowned tech firm, I enjoy a decent income. Yet, despite my efforts to secure a comfortable lifestyle for us, I've observed an unsettling trend. My wife and her circle often mock me, regardless of my presence. Worse still, Nora fails to defend me during these instances. Nora's attitude towards work and responsibility is a recurring annoyance for me. Despite my relentless efforts, she appears to take everything I do for granted. It seems as though she's grown accustomed to me managing various aspects of our life, from financial obligations to household chores. The issue isn't merely her inability to maintain employment, it's her whole outlook on work and life. Even during our college days, Nora has always shown signs of indolence and lackadaisical commitment. Dear friends, if you enjoy this story, please like and subscribe to our channel. It will motivate us to make more videos like this for you. She repeatedly switches jobs, seldom staying at one for over a month or two, which has been a recurring pattern throughout the years and is highly frustrating to observe. She barely graduated from college, and many of her projects were completed by me due to my concern about her commitment. What's troubling is Nora's inclination to dodge responsibility and assign blame to others. She seldom acknowledges or takes responsibility for her actions or inactions. Instead, she blames professors, lecturers, co-workers, bosses, essentially anyone except herself. Her reasoning for leaving jobs or explaining failures is always an excuse. It's never her fault in her eyes, whether it's the job being too demanding, co-workers disliking her, professors unfairly failing her, or her superiors harboring a grudge against her. Her apathetic approach to job hunting is equally aggravating. She reluctantly ventures into job hunting and exhibits minimal enthusiasm at best. Her attitude suggests an expectation of effortless opportunities without personal investment or accountability in her achievements or setbacks. Friends seem to have influenced Nora's mindset, imposing outdated notions about gender roles, encouraging her to rely on me financially while she idles at home. This is unreasonable, given our lack of child responsibilities. I've attempted to reason with her that it's illogical for her to be idle all day, yet she persists in this desire and debates the issue tirelessly. It's incongruous since her friends, who are single, support themselves financially. They frequently lament about their perceived unattractiveness, yet one wonders about the appeal of such a mindset. Prior to leaving her last job, she remained employed for merely 3 months. My friends persistently mock me for not being considered manly enough to allow Nora to reside at home. They label me as selfish and avaricious, insisting that since I earn well, I should permit Nora to stay. I've repeatedly informed Nora of my disdain towards her friends and my desire for her to avoid them, yet she dismisses these concerns, attributing them to my insecurity due to lack of friendship. However, I'd choose solitude over companionship with the sort of individuals Nora socializes with. Moreover, Nora's acquaintances hold a bizarre belief that a man should combat for a partner who has been unfaithful to prove his love. They claim that if a man does not struggle for his partner following infidelity, then he never truly loved her. This notion is illogical, and I've attempted explaining this to Nora, but she remains unmoved. When I question the inconsistency in loyalty expectations between genders and whether it's fair for a woman to defend an unfaithful partner, I'm labeled as old-fashioned or sexist. When I further probe if this implies gender inequality, they struggle with a response and my inquiry is dismissed as sexist. Nora staying home due to her friend's comments has created domestic discord. Although she's expected to manage household chores such as cleaning, cooking, and doing dishes, it falls mainly on me. It's aggravating to return from work, exhausted, only to find the house untidy, especially since Nora is capable of helping but prefers not to. Matters worsen when her friends frequent our home, leaving it in a messier state without showing any inclination to clean up. When I discuss this matter with Nora, she dismisses it, asserting that I am overly demanding and fail to comprehend the difficulties of being a stay-at-home spouse. It is an ongoing struggle to persuade her to recognize the significance of participating in household responsibilities, particularly when she doesn't generate any income. What makes this situation even more frustrating is the impact of her friends on her perspective on responsibility. They have managed to convince her that she doesn't need to be accountable to anyone, not even her spouse. There was an instance where Nora left for a weekend trip with her friends without informing me. In their opinion, sharing her location or informing me about her plans is controlling and sexist. According to them, I am an abusive partner merely because I seek basic communication and honesty in our relationship. For me, it's not about control, it's about safety and trust. If Nora doesn't disclose her whereabouts to me, how can I guarantee her safety if an emergency arises? Common sense and regard for each other's well-being are essential in any relationship, but her friends have perversely turned this into an issue of domination and tyranny, which is preposterous. Openness and truthfulness should form the bedrock of any sound relationship, yet it appears as though Nora and her friends have forsaken these principles. For years, I've endured their behavior because of my affection for my wife. Of course, she had her imperfections. She was susceptible to her peers' influence. At times, she could be indolent, but she remained the woman I wedded, and I bore it patiently. I comprehended that everyone encounters challenges, and I was prepared to assist her throughout them all. The decisive factor for me was like a dam bursting after being filled with rage and resentment for such a long time. It wasn't merely one event that drove me to the breaking point. Instead, it was an accumulation of issues that steadily increased until I could no longer bear it. In retrospect, I recognize that I should have stood firm from the beginning, but perhaps I tolerated it due to not wanting to disrupt Nora's friendships. Their mockery was incessant, reaching every aspect of my life. They demeaned my interests, labeling me a nerd or an oddball, and dismissed my hobbies as absurd. My awkwardness became their favorite subject, particularly when large groups were present. They found amusement in my stumbles, ridiculed my social ineptitude, and it seemed they reveled in my discomfort. What was most painful was seeing Nora participate or chuckle along. She was aware of how much their teasing affected me, yet she often ignored it or sometimes even contributed to it. It felt like a betrayal, as if she valued conforming with her friends over my feelings. Even when I was visibly upset, she wouldn't intervene or ask them to desist. It sparked doubts within me if she genuinely valued my worth or regarded me merely as a source of amusement. The derision extended beyond my pastimes and social interactions, targeting my bond with Nora, which they demeaned with their offensive remarks. They frequently employed the term simp to belittle and emasculate me. Their speech was never light-hearted or cordial. Instead, it was consistently harsh, derogatory, and dripping in contempt. They insinuated I was submissive and weak, implying that I would comply with any request from Nora without question. Their words suggested they held me in low regard for this. Nora often laughed along with them, reinforcing their hurtful comments instead of supporting me. This was excruciating to witness, as it seemed she endorsed their viewpoint regarding my self-worth. A particularly agonizing encounter occurred during one of her friends' birthday parties. The crowd dispersed following the event, but Nora urged us to linger since others weren't departing yet. I wished to leave, but she persisted. Soon, they began publicly ridiculing me for being a pushover, and instead of halting their taunts, Nora joined in. She openly recounted situations where I prioritized her desires or met her needs, effectively exposing our private matters to the crowd. They didn't cease there. They also insulted my intelligence, belittling me by likening me unfavorably to young Sheldon's character, Sheldon, in a derogatory manner, calling me an oddball as a result. They presented being intelligent as a weakness and preferred to mock me rather than acknowledge my intellect. They ridiculed me about more than just my interests or social interactions. It felt like they harbored resentment towards every aspect of my life, regardless of its significance or quality. They seemed to relish finding fault and deriding every aspect without reason. For instance, my position within the tech industry, rather than recognizing its benefits such as lucrative pay, was portrayed in a negative light by them. To their perspective, tech professionals were solitary tyrants who took pleasure in abuse, an utterly false stereotype with no factual foundation. Even my physical appearance wasn't spared from their ridicule. Despite maintaining fitness through regular gym visits and self-care, they managed to make light of the situation. They often joked about my blonde hair, likening me to a Ken doll in an offensive manner. Furthermore, they criticized my workout regimen, stating that individuals within tech should not prioritize fitness, a statement that defied logic entirely. A particularly infuriating instance was when they meddled with something as substantial as the ownership of our residence. The house given by my mother after our marriage was registered in my name due to her reservations towards Nora, whom she dislikes. Although my mother avoided causing trouble or being petty, she wanted to ensure the house remained mine. At first, Nora accepted this arrangement, but later, influenced by her friends, she began believing that all my possessions should belong to both of us, while hers would remain individual. This seemed like an attempt to redefine partnership norms. They convinced her that as my partner, she had a right to full ownership of the house, which caused unnecessary conflict and led her to ignore my mother's intentions, demanding sole ownership of the house instead. Though I sought a balanced solution by proposing shared ownership, Nora and her companions persisted in advancing unattainable conditions. When I held my ground, refusing to concede due to the absurdity of granting them sole possession of a house I received as a gift, they eventually urged Nora to accept the compromise. However, their interference and manipulation had already put significant strain on our relationship, leading me to become resistant to their unjustified demands. I flatly refused to add Nora's name for joint ownership on the deed, and the incident that sealed my decision was last Friday night, a night that turned into a nightmare. Nora pressured me to join her and her friends for drinks and dinner. While I don't particularly enjoy Nora's circle of friends, she insisted that I needed to socialize more. Reluctantly, I consented, but the evening proved to be anything but enjoyable, leaving me unwilling to accede to their unreasonable requests any longer. Friends of Nora indicated hunger and proposed we all visit a restaurant prior to a bar for drinks. Nora also expressed hunger, so we all concurred. We eventually found ourselves at an upscale eatery, one with slightly higher prices but affordable to me. It was puzzling to observe Nora's friends ordering expensive dishes given their modest earnings, but I attributed it to someone else in the group paying. Nora too opted for a pricier dish, which I didn't object to as I wished her to enjoy herself. However, throughout dinner, they transformed the evening into a mocking session, criticizing and gossiping about me in full view. I opted to disregard them, concentrating on my meal and attempting to avoid their negativity spoiling it. But then, after we finished eating, the server inquired about individual bills. To my astonishment, Nora's friends asserted that I would cover the bill for everyone. That moment marked a breaking point for me. My suppressed anger finally boiled over when they expected me to cover the costs without prior consent. I challenged them, asking why they assumed this responsibility, given that I never agreed to it initially. Their explanation was laughable. They argued that since I earned a consistent high six-figure salary, I should shoulder everyone's expenses. This reasoning was preposterous. Earning well didn't automatically mean assuming financial responsibility for others, especially after enduring their ridicule and disregard throughout the evening. It wasn't about the money. It was about respect and decency, traits they evidently lacked. Matters escalated when Nora joined her companions in arguing that I should pay. I declined because I was resolute about not covering a meal for people who had just spent the evening making fun of and demeaning me. They retaliated with insults, claiming I couldn't handle jokes and was weak. Despite their criticism, I stood firm, demanded separate bills, and paid only for Nora and myself. I tipped generously for the waiter due to Nora's friend's disruptive behavior. On my way out, I presented Nora with an ultimatum. Either she departed with me or our relationship was finished. At first, she attempted to argue, but then she noticed my fury and understood it wasn't feigned, so she reluctantly accompanied me home. Upon arrival, Nora expressed her wrath and scolded me for being tight-fisted and self-centered over the payment issue despite my financial capacity. I tried to clarify that it was about morals rather than money, but she dismissed my explanation. She said her friends were merely joking and I couldn't handle their humor. I simply chose to ignore her and retire for the night since I didn't know what else to say. Nora had humiliated me with her friends and was now upset that I no longer wished to cater to her demands indiscriminately. The following morning, our relationship remained icy, without a doubt. She made no effort to greet me good morning and persisted with her silence. Instead of preparing breakfast as I usually did on weekends, I chose not to do so. For hours, we didn't interact until she came to me. She presented me with an ultimatum: pay for her friend's expensive dinner to end the silence between us. She claimed they were still upset about what they perceived as my humiliating conduct and self-centeredness. I was taken aback by what I heard. After all that had happened, I found it unjust that she wanted me to pay to soothe her friend's hurt feelings. I didn't mince words with my response. I flatly declined, telling her to forget about it. She then threatened to withdraw funds from our joint account to cover the bill. That was a boundary I wouldn't let her cross. I sternly warned her that if she touched our shared money without my approval, she should start looking for employment to replace it. Predictably, my refusal infuriated her again, and she returned to ignoring me. Indeed, I'm sharing my predicament right now from the kitchen. I'm filled with fury and a sense of disregard. To put it bluntly, I feel foolish. Any suggestions on dealing with this chaotic situation would be welcome. Thanks for lending me your ears. Later update: Hi everyone. Approximately 5 hours have passed since I expressed my anger and upset here. I want to express my gratitude to each of you for the incredible support and guidance you've offered. Frankly, I didn't anticipate this post generating such a response, but the responses and messages have truly struck a chord with me. Numerous people have highlighted something I hadn't fully grasped before. My wife's actions indicate a lack of affection and respect for me. It's enlightening to see so many voices echoing the same sentiments I've been experiencing. Your acknowledgement of my frustration has been comforting, and now I understand that I'm not insecure and most definitely not the one at fault. I recognize some of you suggested ending the relationship sooner, and in hindsight, I acknowledge that continuing it was a mistake. Nora's connections with detrimental associates and disregard for my emotions were clear warning signs I should have addressed earlier. It's a challenging revelation, but I value your candidness and your feedback. Moreover, several of you offered innovative suggestions to navigate this predicament, and many suggested seeking legal counsel. Indeed, I will consult with a lawyer to explore potential courses of action. Approximately 5 hours have passed since my last update, and for the present moment, little has changed. Nora remains aloof and is preparing to depart without informing me of her destination. Upon her departure, I intend to safeguard our joint account to preclude any further misuse of funds. I'm convinced she's going out with those acquaintances, and under no circumstances will I permit her to squander my money on such unsuitable individuals. It's high time for me to shake off complacency and regain control over my life. I've come to accept that this relationship has run its course, leading inevitably to a divorce. However, Nora won't find it simple due to the impact this situation has had on me. I'll make sure to keep you all informed about developments. Once more, thank you for your support and advice. They mean a great deal to me. Update. Hey Reddit community, I'm here again with an update. Your encouragement and guidance have been invaluable during this challenging phase. Since my last post, things have taken a turn, so let me catch you up on the latest. The dispute over our shared account caused quite a stir when Nora found out I withdrew all the funds. Her anger escalated as she had pledged to pay for her friend's expenses that evening. This resulted in an intense argument where Nora accused me of being unjust and domineering. In response, I proposed she find employment if she desired independence from my management. I informed her that our shared account would now solely cover expenses. This didn't please her, and she warned she might depart if I didn't return the funds straight away. I remained firm, disregarding her, and retreated to my office and locked myself in. She hadn't anticipated this. She thought I would yield as I often did. Since then, I've been concocting harmless tricks to tease Nora. For example, I carefully placed convincing fake insects throughout the house, knowing she's petrified of them. Her responses were hilarious, and when she questioned me about it, I flipped the script by accusing her of being insecure for not appreciating humor and labeling my antics as mere playfulness. Another prank I've been orchestrating is setting numerous alarms in the morning. Nora tends to oversleep while I must rise early for work. Initially, I shied away from alarms due to their disruption of her sleep, but now I rely on them to prevent me from oversleeping. However, she, being a light sleeper, finds it distressing. Despite her complaints, I maintain that they are essential for my work. Moreover, I've escalated my revenge against Nora by playing psychological games and sowing doubts about her sanity. To accomplish this, I subtly rearrange items around our house, and when she questions the changes, I feign ignorance. Sometimes I even pretend to be perplexed, casting doubt on her memory. This is just the beginning. I've been crafting conversations and plans with Nora only to refute their existence later. It's like a severe form of gaslighting. This continuous manipulation makes Nora question herself and ponder if she can rely on her own mind or if she's merely hallucinating. Last night was the climax. I added another layer to my scheme. In truth, Nora suggested she could be experiencing dementia symptoms, yet managed to suppress laughter within me. My prompting her to scrutinize her mental well-being holds a perverse allure, at once unsettling and gratifying. The ruthlessness aside, it's accurate. She deserves this treatment. Simultaneously, I've been engaging in psychological games with Nora and orchestrating our separation methodically. My intentions extend beyond divorce. I aim to abandon her completely after the separation. I've engaged a lawyer and initiated divorce proceedings. Despite my actions, Nora remains unaware of any of this. She assumes we are merely navigating a challenging phase, blissfully ignorant of my plans to leave her forever. While my approach may appear harsh, I firmly believe it's crucial for us to part ways independently. Managing the house is one of the major hurdles I face. It's a challenge I must overcome. Though legally, the property is mine, it's designated as Nora's primary residence, leading me to avoid a lengthy eviction procedure if I want her out. Living with her for another half year or more isn't an appealing prospect. Thus, I'm seriously contemplating selling the house secretly from her. Although extreme, it seems the most effective approach for achieving a clean break. In the interim, I'd return to living with my mom temporarily until I secure a new apartment or another home. Pragmatic, wouldn't you say? Though my decisions might appear harsh, they've been well thought out. My goal is to extricate myself from this poisonous environment and construct a brighter future for myself, even if it necessitates difficult choices. Recent developments. Hey Reddit, I realize it's been a while since our last chat, but here's the latest news. Life has been somewhat leisurely recently, and regrettably, I neglected to update, so please accept my apologies. Now, let's get down to business with the actual update. Nora has departed from my residence, an action long overdue, but eventually enacted by my decisive kickout. The means? A grand finale prank, though in essence, retribution disguised as such. Swapping her shampoo and conditioner with a hair removal product, the result was inevitable multiple uses before she discerned the switch. Surprisingly, given the product's strong odor and reaction, it took her several applications to figure it out. Consequently, she suffered an unfortunate haircut, with clumps of hair falling out. So terrified she had alopecia that she sought medical attention at a hospital. Every sighting of her altered coif sparked suppressed laughter within me. For approximately a week, she shunned public appearance due to the humiliation surrounding the haircut. At this point, she subtly indicated that she desired her companions to drop by. In the past, these friends would frequent her home, causing disorder without cleaning up afterward. Their visits ceased following a restaurant event where I refused to pay for them. I suspected that their ridicule of me would intensify if they visited again, so I declined their requests. Instead, I proposed that she visit them. Initially, she hesitated due to her new haircut, but I suggested she could hide it under a hoodie or similar garment and go see them. She found this suggestion appealing and promptly prepared to depart. Upon arrival, her friends picked her up, providing me with the chance to gather all her possessions and place them on the porch. I also packed a bag for myself and went to stay at my mother's house to avoid dealing with her outbursts upon returning and discovering her belongings outside. In essence, I chose this method to communicate that enough was enough, and I intended to progress without her theatrical displays. Following my stay at my mother's house, I came to understand that not only Nora should face repercussions, their toxic friends also played a pivotal role in shaping her actions. Many of these friends either betrayed their relationships or were with partners for questionable reasons. Upon delving into Nora's phone and uncovering their group chat, I discovered more than mere ridicule. It was a vault filled with secrets and deceit. I took multiple screenshots as evidence. Subsequently, on platforms like Instagram and Facebook, I found their partners' profiles. For those with private Instagram accounts, I contacted their close friends through either Instagram or Facebook and sent them the damning images. Was my action harsh, cruel, and unnecessary? Yes, it was. However, did they deserve it? Without a doubt, yes. What struck me further was how they would speak ill of each other in private messages. Despite presenting as close friends, they proved ruthless in gossiping about each other. I accumulated proof of this and presented it to them to show the poisonous nature within their group. However, my actions didn't stop there. I messaged Nora a final parting note to put an end to things decisively. I made it plain that I wouldn't tolerate her toxic behavior any longer, requested a separation, and informed her that her possessions were on the porch. I anticipated the turmoil that would ensue, particularly from Nora, so I switched off my phone and retired early. The following morning, my mother updated me on the commotion. Nora had arrived at my mother's house, causing such a disruption that the neighbors were forced to contact the police. I couldn't believe I missed all of that. When I asked my mother why she hadn't woken me up, she said she understood I wanted to avoid Nora, which I was grateful for, but I still felt somewhat uneasy. Relieved that Nora's breakdown didn't escalate into violence, I was exhausted from recent events. Upon turning on my phone, I was inundated with messages from Nora, apologies, pleas, insults, and threats. It was obvious she was losing control, and I decided not to respond. To avoid any home conflict, I spent the day at my mother's house since she might have been waiting for me. 2 days later, I went back to my house, changed the locks, and left her belongings on the porch and her car's smashed windshield, which was in my name. I didn't bother making her pay for the damages. Instead, I fixed it myself, secured my home, and returned to my mother's while still ignoring all her attempts to contact me. Recent developments. Hey Reddit friends, it's been a while since my last post. Thank you for your continued support and humor. My journey has been quite tumultuous, undeniably. In regards to Nora, the situation remains unchanged, as my lawyer advises me to document everything. Soon, she will be served, which I believe will spark another outburst from her. However, her predicament holds no interest for me. I've reached out to some acquaintances who are more closely connected with Nora than I am. They've informed me that Nora has been desperately searching for a place to stay, but it seems she's finding little success. This is because her alleged friends have turned away from her, as they feel responsible for their infidelity being exposed and the consequences they face. The evidence I provided led to many of them parting ways with their partners or facing breakups. Additionally, they discovered that their supposed closeness was merely a facade with undercurrents of betrayal and gossip. Although I'm not proud to admit it, learning about this situation brought me a small sense of satisfaction. Karma seems to have served Nora a chilly dish as she experiences the consequences of her own actions. It's ironic that she hasn't thought about contacting the police, possibly unaware that legally I can't evict her because her house is listed as her primary address. However, I'm grateful for this situation since I wouldn't have been able to endure hosting her for another 6 months. In the meantime, I've kept up with my mischievous acts. I registered Nora and her friends for a barrage of spam emails, and their inboxes are likely overflowing at this point. Additionally, I played a small trick by listing Nora's number on fake celebrity fan sites as a leaked contact number for a supposed celebrity. Given that many people believe such hoaxes, her phone must be inundated with unwanted calls. But hey, anything to keep her occupied. As for an update, it's been a while since my last post on Reddit, and I apologize for the lack of communication. Following a turbulent legal battle, I am relieved to announce a significant victory. Initially, Nora received a minimal amount of funds early on, but it pales in comparison to what I retained. Here's the breakdown. After receiving service, we proceeded through the court process, which ultimately went in my favor due to solid evidence and an excellent legal representation. Consequently, Nora received a small portion of early funds, but fortunately, this won't make much impact. I managed to keep my house, numerous other assets, and was awarded compensation for the damaged windshield that Nora was responsible for. Although I initially didn't plan to pursue it, considering she obtained some early cash, I reconsidered and she was compelled to settle the debt. Her angry reaction was an unexpected but satisfying bonus. As for her current living arrangements post-ordeal, she appears to be homeless, either couch surfing or seeking shelter in shelters. She confessed this to me herself, laughing out loud, likely to make me feel sympathetic towards her. Following the court proceedings, she hurled abuse at me and blamed me for everything. Bizarrely, she later begged for reconciliation. How could she switch so abruptly from insulting me to seeking forgiveness? I swiftly put a stop to that, telling her that it was over for good. Now, I am concentrating on myself, focusing on personal growth and improvement. I'm not considering dating at the moment due to the drama I have experienced. From now on, my priority is my own development. A big thank you to everyone who supported me during this tumultuous journey. This may be my last update. I didn't anticipate this Reddit post would gain such traction, and I am grateful for the incredible support. Thank you all so much. Update. Hey Reddit friends, despite saying that my previous update would be the final one, here I am with another update. It's heartening to know that many of you are still interested in what's happening in my life. After distancing myself from Nora and her harmful group, life has noticeably improved. No more derision, no more disparaging comments about my passions. I utilized this chance to thoroughly clean the house, which without Nora's usual chaos has been effortless. Professionally, I've managed to secure a promotion, a wonderful acknowledgement of my efforts and commitment. Dating is still paused. I may wait some time before re-entering that realm, but I'm at peace with it. Self-care and self-focus are crucial now. As for Nora, her location isn't clear to me. Last I heard, she was grappling with homelessness, which I suppose is unfortunate yet perhaps beneficial. She appears to be trapped in a loop of job changes and difficulties finding employment due to her professional history and qualifications. Nonetheless, I look forward to a promising future.